please bear with me. I have a thunderstorm going on outside and a nervous dog running laps in front of me. I hope I can make it through this review without the power going out. Those little footsteps you hear, that's Chibi. She gets nervous during a thunderstorm. She won't let me hold her. She just has to pace out her fear while it's all going on. So I'm going to try to do the best I can with this, but I just got back from a double feature today, so I've got 2 reviews to record. I toyed with the idea of just doing a live stream, but decided no, I'd go ahead and sit down and do a full-on review for each one. The first movie I saw today was Bad Boys 4, or Bad Boys Ride or Die. I keep wanting to call this one Bad Boys for Life because that makes the most sense to me, but whatever. Bad Boys Ride or Die is the 4th installment in the Bad Boys franchise, starring Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. In contrast to the 3rd movie, there is no post-credits scene in this one, so don't stick around waiting for it. I did know before the movie was done that there wasn't going to be a post-credits scene. I had looked it up. I did sit through the credits because I had nowhere else to go. My next movie didn't start for like 30-some minutes, so no post-credits scene. The same directors returned for this one, and I feel like it shows. Now, I really enjoyed Bad Boys 3. I liked it more than the 1st and 2nd one, to be honest. And I enjoyed this movie as well. I'll get that out of the way too. I enjoyed this film. There were stupid comedic moments that happened, but it's not really that different from any of the other comedic moments that went on in this series. It felt like the first movie was a bit more serious. Second movie got really over the top and ridiculous. Third movie felt like it wasn't quite as ridiculous as movie number 2, but there were these comedic moments, and I feel like, well, for me anyway, I'm there for the chemistry between Lawrence and Smith. The funny little storylines that are written around their characters is kind of what keeps you involved in these stories. And this movie was no different. I'll give you an example, though, what I mean when I say silly or stupid comedy. Like in the middle of a gunfight and Martin Lawrence is all obsessed with trying to get a piece of candy in his mouth. I mean, I was like, okay, come on, you're pushing it a little bit. But those moments weren't really enough to overwhelm the whole movie for me. As a whole, I was on board with this film. It plays it safe, largely. There's really nothing that takes you by surprise. There's nothing groundbreaking or earth-shattering with this film. It's quite predictable, and yet it's entertaining at the same time. If you haven't seen the trailer for this, and I did avoid watching the trailers, but I already knew some of what was going on just by what I could hear. Their chief, he is framed for crimes he did not commit. Obviously, in the 3rd movie, you saw what happened to him, so his character's not really around anymore, just like in video recordings that were taken before the events of what happened to him in the 3rd movie. So they're trying to clear his name because they don't like it that their boss's name is basically being tarnished, and that's what this story revolves around. And if you remember the post-credit scene at the end of number 3, where Will Smith shows up and is talking to someone at the very end, and so it gives you this little hint of a possible storyline for a subsequent film, and that does carry through into this movie as well. This character returns. The story revolves around, not necessarily around this character, but their involvement in, or their attachment to, the events that are surrounding the accusations against the chief. It did take a few turns that I wasn't expecting, but it wasn't necessarily anything that took me so by surprise that I was like, wow, I'm so surprised. It wasn't like that. I was like, oh, okay, well, I didn't expect that, but here we go. We're going on this journey that I didn't necessarily foresee, and this is kind of comedic and fun, and there are these moments for bonding and all this sort of stuff. So there's that. One of my favorite parts in this film involved the character of Reggie. I believe that's his name. This is Martin Lawrence's son-in-law, and he has one of the best scenes in the entire movie, and you will know it when you see it. I love that part so much. I had a big grin on my face the whole time it was happening. And then, of course, there's something that ties around at the end with that character that was also pretty humorous and got a good chuckle. There were several chuckles in the audience because some of the comedic moments are pretty funny. Some of them are a bit goofy, though, like I said. So whatever, it's okay. This is the nature of the Bad Boys movies. Something else I appreciated about this film was the camera work. It framed shots in interesting ways. I don't know if you guys have seen the behind the scenes stuff with Will Smith operating the camera with the gun and everything. That does show up in the film. But there's just these other ways that shots are framed, sideways angles, from the top, from below. You'll know it when you see it, but I did like that. I thought that was well done. There is a cameo in here, so that was kind of a fun nod to previous movies that hopefully you'll recognize. There was also another scene that I really liked as far as the action, the way it was all choreographed, and that was a scene that takes place in like an army plane. It's not really a plane, it's like one of those army helicopters where it has two blades on the top. I don't know what they're called, but there is a scene that happens in there that I was really involved in. That did kind of amp me up, get me a little bit, in suspense. So that was another notch in the pro category for me. I don't really have many cons, honestly, other than some of the stuff I've already touched on, some of the crazy, wacky comedy in the middle of things that really should be serious, the predictability of the plot, but that's honestly not really a complaint. It's one of the things I enjoy about some movies. I do like it when movies subvert your expectation, but then there's some films, like especially when you've got already sort of a pattern set up with characters and storylines, plot lines, whatever. If it broke with that too much, it wouldn't feel like it's a film that belongs in this universe. So it's not really, you're not going to see this for anything groundbreaking. You're going to see this because you want a fun action comedy with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. With regard to Will Smith, yes, it's a bit difficult to separate him as a person from him on screen now because of the event that happened. But for whatever reason, I was able to largely set that aside, and I did enjoy this film much more than the next film I'm getting ready to review, which is The Watchers. Wanted to go ahead and add this extra audio in because when I finished filming my review, I got an email from Polly at Latino Slant asking me to participate in a live stream discussion about this movie Friday night, the 7th of June. So if you guys want to check out that, be sure to keep your eyes open and hopefully we'll see you there in the comments. Okay, back to the video. And having said that, I don't think there's anything else I can say about Bad Boys Ride or Die. If you guys go check it out, let me know what you think. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? I've heard it's on track to make about $75 million. We shall see. I don't know. It's a little hard to guess nowadays because this hasn't been the best year for movies at the box office. We'll know in a few days, won't we? Okay, that's all for now, you guys. Hasta luego.